And here we go. AP 42. Today we're discussing sessions 124, The Meeting, 125, The Albatross, and 126, Coming Clean.
That's what she said.
You gotta have a clean
come.
Knew that was coming.
Knew that was coming.
It's rarely clean, though. Let's just move on.
Good set of three, I think. A lot of role
may
play.
One may say the best
The
set.
favorite three yet.
One Leland may say that.
I legitimately think. Okay, I know. Okay.
Come on!
I actually think.
Yes, here we go.
I do actually think these are like three of our greatest episodes. They're such
You
great
are-
role play.
The boy who cried wolf. No one believes
I
you
am
anymore.
the show's biggest fan. I will fully admit it.
Which is good,
Your
because you have
own
to listen
biggest
to it so
fan.
many times.
So without talking about specifics, why are these three shows better than all the other 123 that came before it?
Because I believe everybody's character is there, and you are all in your characters and role playing them incredibly well. Some of you are changing, others maybe not so much, but I think at this point, like, you all know, regardless of what new NPC you're meeting, like, you know what your characters are going to do in any given instance now, and I think it really has been showing in the last number of episodes that we've had that are, again, like, all of Chapter 3 has been roleplay heavy. Have we had combat in Chapter 3 yet? I don't think so.
What's combat?
Oh, yeah.
think so.
The first two eps with Tinnerman in the
Getting
knowledge
out of the
center.
towers. Yep.
And the was Shaft and Falzerin's encounter with the Doppelgangers.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That was
I
this
suppose.
chapter, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say they were your favorite because you got to voice so many NPCs within only 3 episodes.
You gotta talk to yourself.
I mean, I said it and it's on there. It's money. Like, we got Izzy talking to Grimby, talking to Samuel.
Honestly, you friggin' nailed it, man.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
see how
couldn't
you
do
do
it
it.
without laughing or screwing stuff up, and you did it in perfect stride. I was impressed.
They all have such
Bravo.
a specific voice and cadence and, like, okay, we'll get there, but don't even get me started on the Albatross speech. Ugh.
Yeah, Grimpy's speech.
It's a great way to get a lot of information to the party members by having 6 different NPCs talking to each other. I'm going to clear this up right away.
This is Leland. What's Leland's finally resorting to? He's like, I've been throwing them bones for 2 years now.
Exactly.
They're not picking up on anything.
He was dropping breadcrumbs, now he's hitting us with bones.
I need to spoon feed them.
bread.
Yeah, you're getting a loaf in the face.
Leland is boning us.
Well, that took a turn from bread references
Well,
to...
okay. The other reason is these 3 episodes, like, we've had
I broke
progression
everything.
on the main arc of the campaign now. Like, immediate progression in these 3 episodes, really, right? Like, this
Thank
Susie
you
meet
to you.
cultists. Well, to me, I suppose, yeah. I don't want to discredit everything else that has come before it, because it was all part of it and it's all connected, right? As I'm sure you're starting to see the connections that pretty much everything that's been going on it has with something, even if it's just tangential.
I think you can feel the building to the climax of the story. And I think it's been a nice, slow progression up, and
Lot
then
of
in chapter
foreplay.
3 has been
Yep.
heading towards the peak, and we
Yeah.
all sort of feel it coming, and the
Yeah.
tensions are getting higher.
Feel it coming.
Yeah, the blood's
Yep.
pumping more and more
coming, babe.
forcefully. The veins are throbbing.
Yeah.
Climax is right around the corner.
Well, what's Bill and Elena been up to recently? I think we just need to knock that out of the park right now and then get back to the podcast.
Yeah, no, definitely though. All sexual innuendos aside, it's definitely like things are coming.
We keep saying coming. We keep saying
I was
coming.
gonna say coming to a head. It's right there.
What I would like to say is that you said this, I believe, in one of the episodes. Samuel told each character exactly what they wanted to hear, or played them on their, like, right, like played on their character, knew their weakness, knew what they needed to hear. That, you know what I mean? Like, I think that was mentioned, and I liked that.
It's exactly what somebody would do when they're trying to convince you to do something.
Yeah.
for 'em.
Manipulative in
That was good.
Exactly.
a good way, because at least Mia's naive enough to be like, oh, thanks. Like,
Is it still? Oh, I guess it is manipulation. I was gonna say, is it like as bad as manipulation? If like, do you think that he would renege on anything that he's promised?
I don't know.
so yeah, do we know yet?
I think he's arrogant enough to say, I'll do whatever the hell I want to do.
Yeah.
I can promise you whatever, and I don't have to pay off if I don't want to.
Do you think Samuel is arrogant? Is that what
Yes.
that's the first word that
Oh,
comes? You
yeah.
think it's arrogance?
Yeah.
I think he's confident
And arrogant.
in his I mean, I hate to, it's like any dictator that has true power. I think they feel that they're untouchable and they can pretty much tell people what they're going to do, and if they get that reinforcement from everybody,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they be arrogant?
I don't know that it's arrogance, but that's just my opinion.
What would you call it?
I think he's powerful, smart. I don't necessarily like arrogance. To me seems like a prideful thing. I don't know if he's like prideful and that's why he thinks he can control us. I think he's smart.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I think we don't know enough about him
Yeah,
yet
that's
to
true.
know
That's
his true characteristics and personality. But
He's a good guy, says Mia.
initial impressions are that either he's arrogant or he's certainly very confident, is what I would say. I mean, I guess
Arrogance
is
and
when
cockiness is like
your confidence exceeds your actual true
right.
strengths, I
Ability.
guess, is how I would define it. So it depends on, whether his confidence is in line with the reality or not, I guess.
Well, that's what I mean is like arrogance and cockiness to me, like Bill said, is like maybe you can't back it up. But I think that's why I think smart to be manipulative, and then powerful meaning as far as he knows he can back it up. Like, I don't know that that's arrogance.
It's taken him a long time to build up that confidence,
Oh, yeah.
right?
He's old.
Hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't born yesterday.
So, what do you think how about Samuel compared to Isabella?
What do you mean?
It's,
Is Isabella arrogant?
He certainly seems a lot less arrogant in Samuel's presence.
That
That was interesting.
I wouldn't call her arrogant either.
There was something palpable in that room that Leland presented, right? Like Isabella's hesitancy, her demeanor, her like lower rank. That
Yeah.
like that's crazy how that. It's crazy good how you made that apparent.
Yeah.
In the way
Yeah, I
that
didn't
you
see
just
that coming.
talked with those characters. Yeah, that was really cool to be honest.
that was a moment that allowed allowed Shaft to be able to use to
Yeah.
get them out of the
Yeah.
the cages, right? Because he knew that she wasn't going to be able to do anything. She was subservient to Samuel, and Samuel, I don't know if he's needed us, but I think in some way he needs us to do the things that he needs done. But he's not going to be as he's not going to let us know how important we might be. But what importance our pieces to his puzzle are.
Well, let's say he's completely lying about everything. All right, by chance, whatever. He still needs us to not be against him, and he was able to try to make that happen.
Because we could throw a wrench into his works.
Yeah, I think
Maybe.
that we could be a stumbling block of some sort to whatever plan he has. Let's say he's lying about everything.
I don't think he's lying about anything from his
Well, I
perspective.
don't-
He's just not telling us
Yeah.
the full truth. He's just telling us what we need to know to buy into what he's trying to do.
I don't either. I'm just saying at the statement that he doesn't need us, I think what he really doesn't need is us to be against him, regardless of what he's truth or lies. Like,
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. But she's definitely, I think Isabella is smart enough to know when to act subservient to Samuel to get what she needs from him, too. I don't think she's afraid of him, I think she's using him.
Yeah, that's the part I find most interesting is how much of Isabella's behavior is also a bit of a hand of cards that she's playing.
Yeah, I mean, she's quite a bit older than him.
Yeah, and maybe even more powerful. Who knows? And if that's the case, it's really interesting that that's how she's behaving, because that means that she's kind of playing him.
He has what she wants.
Right.
She
Which
wants
we
to
don't know what that
ensure-
is yet, right? I don't know what Isabella's getting out of this
three
deal.
of us don't.
4 of us don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean...
Like, to get this armor, we don't super know, at least as a listener and player. I don't know what she's getting out of this.
The eyes of Dendar.
When
Whatever
would
that
Mia
is.
have heard that, though? I don't think
They
Mia
said it.
heard that.
The cultist said it.
Cultist
To
said it
Shakara.
to Shakara.
Not
Samuel
to
did
Mia.
ask Shakara in that room. Yeah, he did. That was one of the things that he's one of the only things he said to. He didn't really talk to Shakara.
I actually
that
wrote
much,
it down.
honestly.
Other than to yell at me.
Is- Shakara says, I wrote down here what he said. He said, you seek the eyes of Dendar to Shakara. You seek the destruction of the Nyogi to Mia. Shaft is, I have mutual friends that some have fallen out of favor, some have not, which essentially he's basically just saying he'll pay me well. He's used to dealing with people in my line of work. And basically for Falzerin, I had down, he essentially offers you a job in a way, right? Because he basically said you were cast aside too easily and you're far more powerful. So he's just sort of, stroking your ego a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, one last thing. Grimby said, and he owes him a shipment, but he also said Corporal Sally is
Yes.
Yes,
mentioned
Sally
he was
made
a
it.
worthy person. So
Yeah.
there's some knowledge there about Sally, right? And she's
Yeah.
obviously a paladin now, or as a corporal in some kind of army.
I would assume paladins, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did hear as Mia, Eyes of Dendar. But I don't know what that means. I don't know what they do, right? Shaft and Falzer know a whole lot more about that than I do.
I think we all know
I-
the same thing.
No clue what you're talking about.
I accidentally listened to one part, remember? Anyway.
Interesting.
Jesus.
John, why are you putting your hand on your head?
Gosh,
Elena!
I need a. Is there a thing we can do that I can hit a button and shock Elena? I mean, I would get.
Well, okay. We all know, everybody knows that the eyes of Dandar are what is powering the Paladin Towers.
right.
That's out
I
there.
do now that
We
you
all
said
know
it. Thanks for telling me.
that. Well, okay.
I think part of what you
Mia knows
heard
nothing.
is maybe stuff that you just forgot you knew as well.
I
Okay.
think so.
All right, fine.
Also, it's like, this is really the first time we've had a full label for the artifacts, as which we've called many things artifacts in the last 9 episodes.
Yeah, which artifact are you
So-
referring to again?
That's also, I think, a bit of maybe some confusion too. But yeah, for sure. Like all your characters definitely should know. The eyes of Denver
Okay.
are what are powering the tower.
Thanks for cluing me in.
I gotcha. I was nervous about Samuel because I didn't want him to be lame because he's been built up for 123 episodes. So I liked playing him. I like him.
I think you did a good job with him.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
he's good.
Yeah, definitely.
But the one thing, listening to him, there was something he said, I think it was in 125. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I was listening to myself. I'm like, man, he sounds like Yoda.
I didn't think that.
He's
I didn't.
Really?
slow, but
I
No.
think I heard what you were talking about because you did mention that to us. And I think I could hear why you would think that, but I don't think it was that bad. And I didn't
Okay.
make that connection till you said it.
Defeat the Nyogi, you must. It's like, that's what I hear.
It wasn't
That's what
that
I'm
bad.
hearing.
It wasn't that
That's what I
bad.
hear.
Get the eyes of Dendor for me, you must.
I didn't make that connection, but now I'm going to every time he talks.
his
Well,
voice
just
doesn't sound the same.
Just pay attention to this pacing, the way he speaks.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but
it's
even
very-
so I listened to them again today on my way to and from work. And you had already said that, and I still didn't like think that on re-listen when I had already heard you say that. So I don't think so.
He speaks slower than Falzerin, but I mean,
It's about time someone speaks slower than Falzerin. Take some pressure off of me.
I like him. I think he brings something no other NPC has brought to the show yet.
Intimidation?
Yes, intimidation. This
He
very
brings some.
he is the
Gravitas.
voice in the room.
he's
When he
really
talks.
he's really hot. We didn't mention that, did we?
Is he?
Just like Geneva. He's
Is that why Mia likes him so much? She's got the hots for him.
he's really hot, just like Geneva. It
Take
wasn't
your
said.
amulet off, Mia. Let us see your real you.
Yeah, girl.
Show us
That's
them
what I got
pupilless
you all
eyes.
I love those pupilless eyes.
Ooh, they stare right through me. Stare through me, they do.
All right.
Yeah, no, I think he's an interesting character, and I don't think that the build-up was sold short by the delivery of Samuel.
Good. I'm glad. I mean, the circumstances help too, right? Like, you're in the middle of his people when you meet him too. That helps a lot,
Yes.
I think. Because that atmosphere has also been built too as well, right? So I think I was able to make it a little easier on myself, just the way things have been going a little bit.
So why are all of his people wearing replicas of the armor? Like what?
That's a good question,
Just-
and one that I was kind of
Just
wondering as well. And
cause.
maybe it's spoilery to answer that to us, but I was kind of wondering, like, why has he created all these replicas that he knows aren't as good as the original?
Maybe they've been
But-
improved upon and they are functioning now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm not asking if they're functioning. Just in general, why do the aesthetics have to be? You know what I mean?
So they can all match. They're cuter that
Yeah.
way.
They're a team.
You could maybe ask one of them if you want to spar and see how powerful they are.
Are we allowed to have a short rest afterwards? Can you try and do that?
Yeah, can we have a long rest before
I'm
and after?
nervous what Samuel
Yeah.
means by spar now.
Yeah, no, I did find that very interesting. Like, I was like, I wonder, like, why is he creating all of these replicas that, you know, maybe do have some power, but obviously probably aren't as powerful as the original, but
What makes you think they have any power at all, other than just looking?
because the
alike?
replicas that Izzy made had some power,
So, it's Samuel.
Samuel using Tinnerman.
why would he make them if they had no power?
I don't know.
Well,
Doesn't make sense.
I mean, it was clear
Like a
that
uniform.
they were like Samuel's like personal guard or some type of like elite force, right?
Probably just
So
a uniform.
Would that not be handy to have a group of, for lack of a better term, super powered
Super
soldiers
soldiers?
in his
Right.
army?
Mutant soldiers.
Oh, okay. So were they only on that
Just
select
those
guard
16,
around?
yeah, just the 16.
Okay, that makes more
16
sense. I
still
guess.
a
Like
lot.
the Red Guards in Star Wars.
I guess I just
protect
thought
the
16
Emperor.
was a lot, and maybe it was just a uniform. That's, yeah, anyway. Guess
That
we'll
makes
never know.
I kind of had not realized that it was just them. That to me makes more sense.
Okay, yeah, and if you recall, in Samuel's palace with the Doppelgangers, Doppelmia found a sparring room and a room with 16 beds in it in that same building as well.
Okay. Yeah, so then I guess because I was thinking like if he's trying to outfit his entire army with these, that just seems unrealistic.
That's a lot of people, yeah, absolutely. That would be a
would be
lot.
even possible to do.
Oh, I didn't think that, though. I thought it was just the personal guard, but yeah. I guess I didn't realize they might have power. That's what I'm saying.
I assumed that they would have some functionality.
Yeah, because they still wore weapons at their sides too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, anyway, how convenient for my locate object spell. I hope.
We'll see. How reliable do you think it's going to be?
I hope.
100%. 100% reliable.
Like,
So
let's
what
say
is
we
locate
follow
object?
this.
What, like a first level spell? So you think Sam and Colt
Well,
is looking
okay.
for looking for this
Obviously,
amulet?
no, but I'm saying with the cipher, like, we're in the right location. You know, you could cast it and find it
it's
faster.
well, that's
if the
actually a good
Neogi are in
point.
the middle of trying to fight with us or something.
Sure, that's a good point. The proximity is a important
Yeah.
clause.
So maybe once
to
we
that
get within like a.
Because the spell itself only works within 1,000 feet of the particular object you're looking
Right.
for. So
I just figure we're gonna be in these
it's in
mountains,
Drakal.
like, being hunted.
It's in Drakal.
Oh,
right?
sorry.
But
sorry.
if
Yes.
it's in Drakal and you cast locate object in Zexley, you're not going to get anything, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, walking
get-
down the
that's
street,
fair.
I might have a feeling of where it is.
Yeah, I think as discussed in one of these episodes, I think you have a good starting place. You have the knowledge to figure out where to start, at least.
Yeah, I think we pretty much know. We just have to get there.
I just worry about, so Mia, in her backstory, I don't even think this was recorded, but in our play session with her backstory, Leland, Mia talks to Hannah, and Hannah says, things are handled, don't worry about it. Like, Mia hasn't seen Hannah since she realized Hannah was aiding the Nyogi trade.
So is
like,
Mia going to go off on Hannah?
that's what I don't, yeah. I'm a little bit, yep. I'm a little bit nervous because I think that's how I'll have to play it, to be honest. She
I mean, you
ticked.
don't have to.
Well, Mia would be ticked, though.
Well, yeah, but Mia also is not stupid, and she would realize
No, she's not stupid, yeah.
she'd
that's
have
right.
to pick her battle. And if Hannah's off by herself, yeah, maybe go at her. But if Hannah's surrounded by 100 Darklings, might want to hold back a little bit.
Probably will, but yeah, she ain't happy with Hannah, is all I'm saying.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't think I'm supposed to know. Is this something that was brought up at some point in time about your interaction with Hannah?
Hannah's aware
Not
that
with
her
your
wagons.
character,
No,
Okay.
but like we talked about this maybe it was an after party, but like Hannah's aware of the wagons and the hatchlings and the Nyogi being transported
Right,
through her city, aided by herself and the Darklings, like for her own interests. She doesn't care.
Well, that definitely something Mia could bring up in character. Have the discussion
do
with the
it.
party for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we can't talk about what's going to happen because we haven't recorded it yet.
Yeah.
The plan is to go to Pisces, right, and then go to Drakal,
Yeah.
and then up to the mountains. So we have a plan. But one thing I was a little confused on listening back, and I don't really remember for sure, but we have a deadline to be able to get to the mountains, right?
So you have a loose timeline on like basically the semblance of the forces. Yeah. So in 7 days the airships will be ready and all the forces on Heraklion will be ready to march to the mountains, basically, right? And then I think what did he say? I think it was 3 days after that, the other half of his forces having to march all the way down from the southern point of Aspara will be there too, as this like second wave almost. And the hope is to have the amulet to be able to go into the mountains and find the last missing pieces, the gauntlets, and the chestplate is still missing. And then the thing was, like Samuel said, like the Nyogi have to be stymied, like they're snowballing. It's running rampant. The effect that they're having, right, is you just think about how they work their enslavement, right? You enslave one person, okay, great. That one will allow you to slave another, or maybe two, and then those two will
Right.
turn into four, right? So it is
It's
like
like
this
exponential.
Pyramid
snowball.
scheme.
Yeah.
Right, it's a
So
pyramid
who's
scheme, exactly.
who's tasked with finding the chest plate? Or what's happening with that?
You don't, yeah. I mean, he didn't say anything about
Not our problem.
it. I guess not.
Currently.
Washing our hands.
Oh
of it.
yeah.
And we're supposed to go to Drukal to find the amulet, but after the amulet we need the cipher. And we're supposed to not worry about
so
it.
the amulet
He's got
and the
it covered.
basically the cipher will allow the proper activation of the amulet to be able to pinpoint the missing pieces.
And Shaft made it obvious that he was in the Paladin's thing and killed the Doppelgangers.
Yes.
Okay,
For when
so
things go missing.
Let's
Yes.
talk about that.
Quote
That was
unquote.
unfortunate.
That was a little bit of Shaft arrogance, not thinking.
Yeah, it was easy. It was easy, wasn't it?
I
It
went for the
happens to
joke
the best of
and
us.
not the not the.
It was easy killing him.
It was the I wanted Shakara to look at me and what did you sneered at me and I smiled at you. That was the fun part for that. Now the aftermath of that's going to be a problem. But
Yeah.
like everything else, we'll work our way out of it.
I was gonna say, was the smirk worth it? Because I feel like
At At this point in time, yes.
So, okay. Question then for John/Shaft.
Yeah.
Has that thought occurred to Shaft, or is it really just like a player thing?
I don't think so. I don't think he's thought about it yet. Let me think.
Shaft is
I would
pretty
think as
wily,
soon as he
though.
said it, he'd be like, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that."
I will say yes, he has, because he has thought about it, and knows he made a mistake.
He would have been like, "Oh, I stepped in it."
He would never admit it.
Oh, hell no. Shaft has already thought, I've already thought about the lie I'm going to tell if it comes up.
I was about to ask you, what is Shaft's plan B, right? Because
I knew there'd be a.
So okay, so
Well,
is it
I'll
is
let
it a
that
lie, or is it like, okay, how do I make myself worth more than the destruction I caused here?
I think it would be, like with most things Shaft does, it's going to be more of a half-truth and only give enough doubt to believe, so for the person that he's trying to convince to think maybe it's not 100% his fault. Maybe there's a bit of truth there, but it's really not his fault. Because that's the edge he likes to live on, right?
What else we got going on?
Oh, nothing. I mean, we just got a whole big entourage of people following us around now, walking down to the port.
Skipping over the whole getting the guys out of the cages, right?
Oh, yes.
Well,
What cages, Shakara?
The cages that, so yes, I knew they were there. And yes, I am looking down at my fingers, so I don't have to look at them.
I mean, I knew they were there too. Called it.
That was a good guess.
Suspected.
That
You
was a good
strongly
guess.
suspected. And
I knew it.
So, it was me at the keep with Isabella, her bodyguards, Hulsa, and who knows who else.
Salsa, Tulsa, Pulsa, Tulsa, Chulsa.
Exactly. And I saw that
the
they were there.
quintuplets.
And I did heal them. And I panicked and I ran. And then I couldn't tell you that I left them. I couldn't tell you that. That's admitting something very, very...
Yeah.
Shakara's too proud for that to tell you that she left them.
I like how it's proud when you do it, but it's deceitful and lies when I do it.
I think
Precedent's
it's
been
worth
set.
pointing out. I think it's worth pointing out that that's a really good story if we were to believe it.
What do you mean it's a good story?
I'm just.
You can
just
ask the
pulling your
elders
leg.
that I didn't stick them in there.
No,
I
I'm just
left
messing
them,
with you.
yeah, but I didn't put them in there. And I did make Isabella promise to feed them.
Was that ever?
Changed
Was
their bedding.
that actually played out on the podcast in a previous episode, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we
Oh, it
didn't get
was?
to listen. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I will say that you had a good point when you said, like, listen, Mia would storm the castle.
Yeah, Mia
and be
definitely would have
destroyed.
stormed the keep.
And I think
And
I
there's
think you were
so
right on that.
many people that are aligned with Isabella now. You guys don't even know what kind of shitstorm would start from that. So many innocent lives would be caught up in it. Like half of Heraklion is on Isabella's side, and what do you think would happen if she gets attacked?
So was Shakara happy that we got him out?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think you role played that very well. Like your conversation with Falzerin, and I guess Falzerin wasn't there, but you had a conversation with the rest of the party as well, explaining the sticky situation you were in and why you did what you did. I think that's a satisfying explanation for Falzerin, at least.
And when we were at the keep, I had to side with Isabella and be like, no, don't get them out. They can't
Right.
leave.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, what else am I going to do? I can't openly defy her.
That's why we did it, right? Because we knew we had Samuel there, and
Right.
we knew you guys couldn't say a word like, "Oh, they're locked up down in the cage. We'll go get them and let them go with you." We knew, and I knew exactly where to go. My biggest problem was I didn't want anything else to happen between the time I said that and the time I wanted to get there
yeah.
Right.
as fast as possible before she could send somebody or before you guys got in the way.
Well, because they're busy doing their elder duties.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't openly go against Isabella. So I had to, in quotes, try and stop you. Which I knew
Right.
Shaft wasn't going to listen to me.
Until Shakara talked to Mia alone on the boat, there was a whole lot of like, oh shoot, Shakara's long gone. There's no more double agent. Like the first 2 episodes, Mia was like 100% convinced you were Coven only.
What else have I done that made you think that was
On
Coven
that
only?
point, I don't want to sway any of you thinking one way or the other when it comes to Shakara, but I have to give Emily mad props because I will tell you, I have no idea if she is with or against Isabella. So that either means she is doing really great lying to me or really, really great lying to all of you. It's one of the two.
Or she doesn't know yet.
That's true. I don't think she knows.
That's my biggest fear, is that, like, Emily is a delightful and sweet human being, but I also know that she's a smart person, and
look at me.
she's able to.
Yeah, John had hair 20 years ago.
I think
She's able to
fill you in,
bluff.
Bill. I
Yeah.
can fill you in. on
Listen.
all your
No, I
questions.
know.
We already
that's the thing.
established that I cannot handle ending this chapter in this campaign, killing my friend. I can't do it.
We did have that conversation off mic. Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
hate doing that. I don't want to be against or kill Shakara. So if you're gonna go evil, run away and never come back.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. Is
Like
like
Scar
as much
says
as
to Simba, you know?
as much as Emily has, like, not given us any reason to doubt her, as, like, even in just conversations out of roleplay, I know that she's good at bluffing.
Oh yeah.
So part of me's
She
like,
just laughs off
Emily
like this.
couldn't do that and tell us everything she's told us. But then another part of me's like, what if she's bluffing?
I'm
This
really
whole time.
not that good of a bluffer.
Yeah, but you laugh
I
whether you're bluffing or
don't
not, so it's
know.
hard to tell. You're just giggling.
Okay, I have a question then for Emily, because Shakara and Isabella had a little private moment while Shaft and Falsey were running to free the elders, right? Which I think was a lovely conversation. The interchange between, I like Shakara and Isabella's relationship. I can see like a sitcom spinoff with the two of them being
Oh
roommates,
my god.
being really, really funny.
Shakara vision.
Shakara vision, yeah.
See in the
So-
dark and read all languages.
Emily, how convinced does Shakara believe Izzy is as far as Shakara being all in on the coven?
Oh, so that's a hard one because Shakara does not trust Isabella. And the whole thing with Erica set that up because Isabella turned on Erica, right?
Right.
And as Shakara found out, and this is not spoiling anything to tell you, is basically because Cultus wanted it. And so that made it worse. Is the fact that, I mean, Isabella might have done it anyway, but since Cultus wanted it, Isabella did it. So that makes her trust her even less. And I have shown disdain to Isabella in all of that. And I have basically told Isabella that I don't trust her without using those words.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Isabella would be a fool to completely trust Shakara. And I don't think Isabella's a fool. So I think both of them are doing this kind of dance where they are still testing each other and giving little nudges to see what the other's going to do.
Right. But there is still, from both sides, the need to rely on the other.
Yes. More powerful with 3, so it wouldn't be easy to remove one without having first thought about a replacement. And for the end goals for what the coven needs to do, kind of need each other to make us all more powerful. Yeah, I don't think... Would Isabella suspect that Shakara would take out Hulsa, Igna, and Kula in order to save the elders? No, I don't think she would expect that.
You're really trying to defend them, though, and say we shouldn't do it.
Exactly. I don't want you to kill them because it would set off Isabella. And for 2 reasons. I mean, they are part of my coven. So they are, you know, that cousin that you don't particularly like, but they're still your cousin, you know? So it's like, they're part of my coven. I don't want you to kill them. They're part of my extended family.
Right, they're on the very bottom of the pyramid. You need the bottom.
To hold
they're
everybody
really far
up.
removed from
Yeah.
the top.
Somebody's got to be selling it.
Yeah.
What's the name of the chick on the bottom that put the emblem on her forehead? Oh, yeesh. She's in deep.
Yeah. So, and then also it would set off Isabella to know that Hulsa got killed. I mean, Is she replaceable? Is Hellcell replaceable? Yes. Still, you don't want to have to replace them.
She was a triplet.
I mean, she's the last of the set.
Yeah.
That's right.
Very rare.
You're
Yes.
already trying to recruit Mia. Let's be real. You're already looking at replacements. Shakara
Plant the
asked
seeds.
Mia if she was interested in the coven.
Yeah.
Don't do it, Mia.
Just plant seeds.
Oh, I just laughed at her.
Mia, what did you think of your private conversation with Samuel? Because you two had a second to chat in the Great Hall in the Keep.
You mean
It
my
was
new,
mostly Nyogi stuff, right?
my new father figure in my life?
Oh, goodness.
Talk about daddy problems.
Goodness.
I have daddy issues, and it's all Leon's
But you
fault.
had a daddy growing up.
I did.
He wasn't your real dad.
Exactly. That's my issue.
Well, you didn't know.
I know.
That's the good part. You find out later.
I have daddy issues as of this month. Okay. No, he played Mia well. He played Mia well. He knew what to say to make her feel certain ways, and
Oh, certain ways, huh?
okay, he is
Those
handsome.
kind of daddy issues.
There was, as you'd expect, like Mia sharing openly and honestly what she knew about the Nyogi. I trust and believe what he shared back. And I definitely think that I think there's truth in what he's saying, and I think he's my best hope for ending the Nyogi and saving Aspara, honestly. I think he's our best hope. So,
But that doesn't make him a good guy.
doesn't, but I'm hitching my horse on setting out to do what I wanted to do a year ago.
So you're willing to align yourself with somebody who may be potentially very evil to
I'm still
meet your own end
like
goal.
I'm still
Powerful.
wading in those waters, right? But like I haven't said
So you joined up with somebody that's more powerful
Listen
than you.
to me,
That's
there's
giving
no-
you power because it gets to you to your
he hasn't
end
given
goal.
me jack, Shakara. I'm not getting these like warlock spells and crap. He hasn't given me jack. It is yet to be determined, and I am not saying, and I have not said, that what he did to Dreg, or allowed to be done to Dreg, was justified at all. But it is a bit of a trolley problem, right? You're coming to the forking path. Do you let your trolley run over 10 people,
that trolley problem.
or run over one person? This is from The
we're
Good
going
Place.
Back to the good
Is
place.
one life given to save 9? Like, what's better, what's worse?
Easy
Who's-
question. You run over 9.
Okay. Well,
I mean,
it's
do I
10.
like the 9 or do I which one do I like?
Are
Exactly.
they your first cousins or
Exactly.
second
I
cousins?
like Dreg, but is it worth...
What level of the pyramid are they?
Do they have an emblem in their forehead now?
In her forehead, really?
I know,
Did you
right?
have to put it there?
It's like Vision again. Shakara, Vision. Mia is changing, I think, from what Leland said at the beginning. There are things and characters developing right now, and choices are being made, and she's going to hitch herself to that horse that's going to get the Nyogi. Where's that leader? I don't know.
I think it makes sense that you're doing it, but you're not thinking about the long-term consequences, right?
Maybe not.
Because because that's your character. I think your character is like, this is what I'm single-focused.
Right. And the long-term
Yeah.
the long-term in her mind right now isn't like after the threat is gone or anything, because he says the threat's going to continue. What's going to happen? It's like the long-term for her is like, if there is no Aspara to protect, what am I doing? So like, I need to protect Aspara first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
I like Dreg, but
But you trolley over him if you need to.
I don't know.
That's gonna be a thing now, isn't it?
I'm going to trolley over him.
Definitely.
You're
a
gonna trolley
thing.
somebody.
We're going to trolley over everyone.
I'll trolley what's his face, Gray Eye. I don't know him from
Gray Eye. Can't even remember the poor guy's name. You're ready to trolley over him.
What's his
Oh,
name?
Mullen the
McLaren?
Mullen.
Mullen.
Rodney Mullen. That's how I remember it.
Why is his name Rodney?
Because I used to skateboard. Rodney Mullen is a famous skateboarder from way back in the day.
Sure he is.
Oh.
He's a legend among skateboarders.
Okay, would you kill Tony Hawk or the world?
Oh, goodness. You can't do
Tony
this to
Hawk
me.
replied to the board game tweet.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
After 40-something days.
Yeah. Shout out to Kev Meeple. Or
Again.
I forget.
Was it Tony Hawk or was it his assistant?
It
We'll
was
never
Tony
know.
Hawk.
It
He's a
doesn't matter.
gem.
It's
It was
Hawk's
Tony
account.
Hawk's verified account.
Tony
Let's-
Hawk's a blessing to humanity. It was definitely him.
He definitely knows his own Twitter password.
Oh, boy. Oh, that was only 124.
All right, yeah, good question.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
that
yeah.
did answer, I think, fairly thoroughly one of Britt's 3 questions she gave us. Thank you for the questions, Britt. She was kind of asking you all about your feelings on Samuel, so we definitely covered that, despite how Dreg got just ravaged by his torturer.
I'll
Is
never
there
forgive
any
you for
way
that,
to
Leland.
fix his hand? Is there something like high level cleric could do?
I think there is,
greater restoration. Fix it.
I think it's
there's
a
some kind of
true, it's like true resurrection or something. There's like an additional thing that a particular high level spell does and allows you to attach a lost appendage or something.
I don't think I have that yet, Dan.
So it'd be super expensive,
I think it's like a 7th or 8th level spell.
especially if you go to Mother Celeste.
Oh,
Yeah.
dear God.
Well, let's just find some blackmail on her.
You need to have a bag full of diamonds for Mother Celeste
Yeah.
to do that.
Mia's changing. Let's get some blackmail on Mother Celeste. Let's make her bless him. What else?
Now you're starting to think like Shaft. I like it.
It's all for the greater good.
Yeah, I never thought about this avenue. We should have did this a long time ago.
Shaft's greater good is himself. That's the problem.
I don't see a
That's the
problem.
difference, I guess.
As long as you're buddies with Shaft.
Yeah.
So 125, the albatross.
The albatross in the room.
Way harder to listen to with the music and the emotion that I don't know. It was harder
Say
to listen
goodbye
to.
to Grimby temporarily.
Yeah.
Yep. At least it's not feeble-minded this time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Salute.
his mind was feebled by looking at those airships.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, when the Rising 4 goes down, it's gonna go out with a bang.
It's going to take a lot of people with it, yeah.
Yeah. A flying ship powered by an extremely
Phlogiston.
explosive fuel.
Yeah.
Phlogiston, yeah.
Yep.
Look out. But how friggin' cool that we have flying ships in Aspara. Am
Yeah,
I
they're going to
right?
be rad once they're up and running.
Leland, you had that speech written, or parts of it.
Yeah,
It was really good.
thanks. It was difficult to perform.
It was a good moment.
That was a good moment. Yeah, that was really good.
Almost completely ruined by Bill and the Kraken rum.
The Kraken is and when I say the Kraken, I'm speaking about the rum that Elena and I recently discovered.
Excuse me, you are the one who has discovered, bought it, and drank it all.
It's waging a war against the quality of our podcast. Let me tell you. Because every time I've had some Kraken, I'm just unhinged. Anyway, yeah, so what got cut from that
You
was...
pissed Elena off really good.
I know Elena was really... Rightly so, because I was out of line.
It was.
And I needed to be corrected.
It was bad. It was bad. I almost just called you guys chat listeners. It was bad. Bill
Yeah,
was
so what got-
chirping every 5 seconds, and Leland's
know.
obviously going through an emotional, prepared
was bad.
speech.
I will tell you, I think I got at least 2 bloopers out of that. So stay tuned, patrons, because
Oh
they will be coming up.
Please.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't spoil it, but let's just say there was a very touching moment, and then I interjected like a 16-year-old would and said something
12,
that just totally
12-year-old
ruined
Max.
Uh-huh.
it. Yeah,
Can we cut the blooper at the part where I start yelling at my husband, please?
Oh, that is the blooper. Can't cut the whole thing.
At least John and Emily argue in character, okay?
That's right. That's right.
And on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Eastern.
on Twitch.
I thought I did. It was one thing that after we did that touching moment and Grimby was leaving, I thought to myself, why can't he just fly us over? Because I didn't realize the boats were still being worked on. Right? I was like, well, goodbye, Grimby. And then we were starting to walk away. I'm like, why don't we just get on the boat with him? No point in saying goodbye.
He doesn't know how to fly
It's
it yet.
That's
that
true.
awkward moment. that we had back with Patrick and
Yeah,
what's his name?
you're both, well, see ya, and then you go the same way. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was so good. Well, nice to meet you. See you later. And they're like, oh, we both need to go down the
There's
same
only
way.
one path out of here.
Wolfgang,
Well, I
Wolfgang,
mean,
yeah.
I always, it's clear now that like the airship is like, that's the start of the assault, like, right?
Yeah.
When the airships go, like, that's when shit's happening, right?
When the
Right.
ships hit the fan.
When the ships hit the fan.
They like that Grimby and Shakara basically said "I love you" to each other without saying it. I
Without
like that
saying
neither
it.
one of them actually said it.
Now, Kith. Yeah, that was. Yeah, listening back, I was ashamed of myself for trying to sabotage it because it was a really good moment.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I thought it was funny at the time too,
So funny.
but Elena didn't. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, we walked away. We got to our regular old ship, and we were getting ready to leave. And Hulsa and the two elves, Igna and Kula, whose names I could not
Oh my gosh.
remember for
had a
anything.
lot of
Leland
trouble with
edited
that.
that really well because you literally
every-
forgot
Every
every
time I
time.
paused and looked down to see what they were.
I think I wrote it down, but then I couldn't read my writing, so I just gave up.
It helped that I know Akula in real life. She's very Greek.
Really?
True.
Greek. Yes, it's a
Huh.
Greek name.
It's who I based the NPC after.
Oh,
Yeah,
very nice.
you really
my friend
captured
from
her
my
essence,
childhood church.
Hey, Leland as a DM does his research.
It's part of my
That's awesome.
extensive preparation for every session. I do a thorough background deep dive on each of you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know.
And we're still friends. Wow.
Well, we do have this podcast that we're not done yet. So.
Yeah,
We're kind of stuck
so
together.
obligated right now.
So 125 ends with Hulsa handing me a note from Isabella. Yeah. Which I immediately then told everybody what it said.
Yeah.
See, I skipped past that, even though
I still shouldn't have listened.
you did tell us what it said, but I wanted to make sure in case there was anything in there that you omitted,
See,
just to be safe.
remember how we talked about how Emily's smart?
Yes.
Part of me thinks Emily said, go ahead and listen to it so that we believe that she really is on our side,
Oh.
like, and kind of inadvertently play
Uh-huh.
more trusting than we should be. You know what I mean?
Anyway. Well, no,
Wow,
it
you
was...
are starting to sound like Sam. I love it.
I told you guys
You're
listen
really
to it
starting to
'cause
go see how people for who they really are.
I
I love
basically
it.
said everything that was in the note except for the one little bit. There's one little bit I didn't say that really didn't have any relevance.
Well, again, in this after party, I've learned about the Eyes of Dendar, which I apparently knew about, but listening to that, I was like, ooh, they're looking for the Eyes of Dendar. They're trying to bring Dendar back. I didn't know that.
You know, you
Back
remember
from
all
where?
the things. You remember all the things that Mia doesn't know, and forget everything that Mia does.
Sounds about right.
Would you like your own goldfish emote, or how do you put that into?
Yes.
Called
like it.
out. Called out.
like a goldfish with a little a crystal ball.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right? It doesn't remember anything, but it can see into the future.
Yes.
Oh, man. A goldfish inside a crystal ball. The crystal ball is its tank.
Oh yeah,
There you
that's
go.
perfect.
That's
It's like
it.
goldfish inception.
Write that down, Emily.
Goldfish Inception.
I mean, the more Kraken you drink, the less you remember. It's just a fact.
Oh man. Okay, we're on the boat, and there's a lot of conversations that happen on the boat.
Oh yeah.
Some arguing
First
that
and
happens on the boat.
foremost, Shakara and Shaft's argument.
Yes, I think that was a something that
True
was
to
building up
life.
for a while because I think that's the first time Shaft and Shakara have really been alone without anybody else around
Yeah.
in the whole series.
I think
Is it
that's
really?
true. There's
The
there's never
tension
been-
was palpable, and let's hope that translated to the bedroom later.
Oh.
Well, if you mean sleeping soundly, then yes.
With all that tension released, I slept like a baby. I hated to have to cut I wasn't really in the middle. But I hated to have to cut that whole interaction. But just because 125 and 126 were a single play session, I had to find a cliffhanger-y in that somewhere to be able to cut. I didn't want to cut it into it at all, but I didn't want a super, super short episode. So, I don't know. But the exchange was great. And,
well, it
listening
was
to
two people sort of, I think, pumping their chest out a little bit and saying, I think Shaft was going, look, I don't care what your end goal is. Whatever. We have these other problems to deal with. And then also that you're not going to tell me what to do. I mean, he was sort of setting his,
Okay, settle a debate for us, and it's perfectly fine to say that I'm wrong, because I probably am. I usually am. Does Shakara talk down to Shaft?
Yeah.
Does she?
Gut reaction says yeah, but I don't know.
I don't know that I would say talk down. I would say that Shakara is sometimes frustrated and maybe annoyed, or
In the moment where he said, sit down if you're going to talk down to me, you were
Was I talking down to him? Because I didn't feel like I was. And that might just be because Shakara's hoity.
You were in your coven, like, I know I'm more powerful than you position.
So I think that's just... I don't think it's specifically aimed at Shaft, though. I think that's just the way Shakara talks.
I think every interaction with Shaft, Shakara talks to him in that way to set him off, I think.
I wouldn't say every.
I think that's just the way that Shakara talks. I don't think she talks differently to you.
Leland,
John, John, you think every single... Like every time,
single interaction.
Okay, I get it. It's a little hyperbolic, but so you mean like whenever there's a disagreement, Shakara clicks into that way of speaking to Shaft, is what you're saying? Because I think it was incredibly evident ever since you and Falsey were bouncing around in the portals. Like since that really pissed Shakara, like from because that was the last argument that the two of you really had, where voices were getting raised, right, in your characters. From then for sure, like. I don't know.
Well, I mean, could you blame me for still being upset with him?
Oh,
Right.
no. I mean, Shakara was pissed, but...
For him to say you're talking down to him was not uncalled for in that moment, I don't think. But that's just me.
And the actually jumping through all the portals was really you being mad at Falzerin. Because Falzerin's the one that said, I did it.
Right.
I knew the password. I did it. And he apologized, but you went off on Shaft on doing
Because
it.
I can see how Shaft manipulates Falzerin.
Yeah.
Shakara feels like Shaft is a little puppet master with Falzerin.
Well, okay, I was just going to say, here's the thing with Shaft and Shakara. They both have a strong opinion on the other and will not be strayed from those opinions, regardless of how true or false they may be, or how either of them may have contributed to portraying themselves in the way either of them see each other. Your opinions of each other are not going to change at this point. I really don't see them changing. So it's really just finding...
They don't like each other.
Exactly. Like the two of you ended up getting to some common ground. Like, it's like you both want to go, are going to the same destination, but both say, no, this is the route. This is the best route to go. No, you're going to hit traffic in the tunnel, you dummy. Take the bridge. That's what the other one says. You got the tunnel and the bridge. It's a classic tunnel and bridge conundrum. I've just seen it a million times.
Right.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying, John, but I guess I wouldn't, and this is maybe a bit semantics, but I'm not sure I would describe it as talking down, but there's definitely, I feel that tension between Shakara and John.
That's what I'm saying.
Sorry,
there's
Shakara and Shaft.
Tension.
Yeah. And like I said, I think Shakara and John. Like I said a long time ago, I always modeled Shaft sort of on like a Han Solo type figure, right?
Yeah.
He's the scoundrel, right?
Yeah.
And when they, he's into space. Think of episode 4 of Star Wars, the first one. He he's going to take these people and make some money in his fast machine. And then I don't want to get mixed up with the Empire. I don't want to go save the princess. I don't want to, he's basically all the time going, I don't need somebody telling me. Han Solo would not have somebody tell him what to do. He would tell him to go piss up a rope, right? But in the end, when Luke needs to make that shot, who comes in with the Millennium Falcon and gives him the opportunity, right? And that's sort of how I always modeled Shaft.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is the way Shakara treated you in this instance, at least, is exactly like the way that Leia first speaks to Han Solo. Right? She
laser brain.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
Shakara's not falling in love with Shaft.
Well, okay, that's not where exactly.
She's only got eyes for Grimby.
That's Chewbacca then.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I totally get what you guys are talking about. The whole live long and prosper thing, and yeah,
exactly.
definitely.
Every fucking time with that joke. Every time you can make that joke, you make it.
Yeah. Well,
I can't help it. I don't have many jokes.
Britt's other question: do you discuss your characters between plays?
Oh,
And we do. We discuss.
not a
We
ton.
discuss the story, and we discuss kind of what our characters have been thinking, some in what's happened, but we don't really discuss future plans.
Do you and John
Like,
talk about it at
we
home?
don't we don't give
Okay,
each
well,
other
I
any
think
insight.
that's like probably just you. Bill and I don't talk about our characters at home.
We don't talk about it a lot, but when it comes up to like we're getting ready to do an after party or we're getting ready to do a recording, we might discuss, as a refresher, and then it'll always sort of come up to, what Shakara's attitude is and what Shaft's attitude is on a subject, not necessarily what we're, interacting with.
Well, on a whole, I don't think the four of us do before a play,
No.
and Bill and I definitely don't. So that's unique to you guys for sure.
Well, for us, for all of us, the after party is where we talk about our characters, right? Like that's what it's really what the after party is serving for us.
Yeah.
It does serve for us.
I just feel like we don't. I don't know. Maybe we just like hop on and don't think that much into it. I do you agree,
I
Bill?
think
We don't.
you're forgetting instances where we do. We don't do it a lot. Like we don't do it on a.
Let's say afterwards, where it's like, holy crap, can you believe that just happened? We'll kind of dissect it, but we'll forget about it by the next play. We're not pre-talking. We do post-talking.
We don't pre-talk.
pre-talk.
No.
Okay,
We don't
okay.
like plan anything or anything like that.
Okay.
We just, like you said, we talked about what happened. We talk about what our characters were thinking at that time, but stuff that was already basically mentioned, just nothing nothing spoilery.
We definitely do like a post-talk sometimes, and I'll compliment him on how he played this or that or something. And he'll be like, yeah, definitely Mia would have done that. Or like, I sometimes am like, do you think Mia would have said that or done that?
Yeah, I agree. I think most of the time when we have discussions about it, it's after we've had a play session or the next day or whatever, where we talk about what happened.
I think we tend to talk more before and after party. We talk
Yeah,
about what's going to be talked about in the after party.
Yeah.
I save that for the after party.
But after we get done with a very heated session, I'll go upstairs, she'll come downstairs, and we'll watch TV. I mean, we won't.
Yeah.
She might say something, and I'll go, nope, don't want to spoil anything. I don't want.
Yeah.
Well, I think your characters are in odds as a couple more than like Bill and I. Mia doesn't care about Falzerin. Falzerin doesn't care that much about Mia.
Well, I think Falzerin kind of is confrontation averse.
Well, and we're not in conflict right now, really. Direct conflict.
Yeah.
Disagreement.
I think
And actually, John brought that up when I was talking to him earlier today, and he brought up how Shakara talks down to him, talks down to Shaft. And I said, no, I feel like I talk the same way to Falzerin. And John was like, yeah, but Falzerin just takes it.
Yeah, that's the different. I think it is. Yep.
Falzerin will apologize. If you said, Falzerin, you did it, he would apologize for it. And Shaft is going to be Han Solo and go, listen, I don't need to put up with your crap. Right? So there's going to be conflict with Shaft.
Does Shakara talk down to Mia?
I don't feel like I talk down to any of you.
No, I don't think.
I think you're too
I think
scared
she's
to-
trying to convince Mia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're trying to recruit me, man.
Right.
You talk differently to the boys than you talk to me. Just
Yeah.
Do I?
Yes.
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 Huh.
Especially since they pissed you off, for sure.
Yeah, I think not Falzer. I think Shakara just has a very strong personality.
Yeah.
And she's doesn't put up with crap, and if she's got a problem with someone, she's not afraid to tell them straight to their face. I don't know if I describe it as talking down though, because talking down to me means that
Condescending and shitty, and I don't feel like I'm that
right.
way.
Okay,
I guess if you
yeah.
define talking down in the sense in that, like say that Shakara thinks she's more in the right than other people. I guess if that's what you mean by it, then maybe. But as far as like Shakara being better than, I don't know that she talks down in that sense.
There was a moment where Mia felt like she could talk down to Shakara because it was like, you're being a hypocrite. You're not so good, but I don't think she's at that point anymore.
I do think there is a lot of righteousness to Shakara. And
Yeah.
that righteousness has shifted shifted a few degrees as far as the alignment tracker, maybe a bit.
Yeah.
But maybe, and by that I mean maybe it's shifted where it starts, not necessarily where it points to. Because I do always think that Shakara's always been moving towards, again, the greater. It comes up all the time in our campaign as the greater good. I think that's very generalized and almost tropey. But I don't think that the way it's playing out in our campaign, it feels tropey, just because of the individual characters and the stakes that are now in it for them and the way they're progressing towards this end for themselves. So I do think Shakara's always been pointed that way. But again, I think the base of that needle is swinging where it's starting, which again, still where you start or where you start again from is influences where you get to. And now that we're talking about like the better than thing, that Shakara definitely thinks she's better than Shaft. Whether or not she maybe whether it's not something subconscious maybe for Shakara, because
Yeah, not intentionally.
Sure, but I think
It's not wrong. It's a character, Emily. It's not you.
you were chosen. You were chosen. I'll use you were chosen by Izzy and invited into this pact, chosen to be given this extra power, right? I can see how Shakara, like how that could go to Shakara's head, even without her entirely realizing it, because like that's a big deal, right? I mean, Shakara already set out to do 15 great deeds.
Yeah.
So when you set out on something like that, you believe in yourself that you can do it, and maybe Shakara got to a point where, well, maybe this is going to be more difficult than I thought, and like with these I can for sure do it. Maybe that's a source of doubt, right? That is being quelled by this inclusion into the coven and these additional powers coming through. And then when somebody else is doubting you or your choices, to relieve yourself of like your self-doubts, then for sure there's going to be confrontation there. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And I think Shaft is, and especially in these 3 episodes, but previously with Falzerin, but mainly with Mia this time, when we went down and saw they were locked up in the cage, was to show, don't buy into everything, don't trust everyone on face value. He's been doing that with Falzerin for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
right?
You're just in the beginning
But
of teaching Mia here.
with Mia, he wanted to say, you may not believe me if I say it, so let me show you. That was the whole thing about getting you down there to the cage.
If it were Shaft saying, go do it, teleport right now, I don't know that I would believe Shaft. But the fact that you sent Falzerin, obviously, because that's how it works, I'm inclined to trust Falzerin. Pretty trustworthy person.
Yeah, but you almost didn't do it.
I know. But, it grew our relationship for sure.
Right.
Now, all those teachings, Shakara doesn't need those teachings. Maybe she did or she may have benefited from them when she first set out. But I do think, like Emily was saying, and her feelings towards trusting Isabella, like Shakara knows that.
Yeah.
Like, she's not naive. Shakara's not naive. And I think whether or not she's learned that mostly more recently because of the coven dealings, maybe you can make an argument for that. But I don't think Shakara's definitely not naive. And I don't think she needs that type of tutelage. which I also think is another source of conflict between Shaft and Shakara. Because Shakara doesn't need the goods Shaft is selling, right? Even though Shaft is still going to try to sell them to everybody. Because Shaft believes that Shaft believes that for his own benefit, he needs to make sure everyone's on the same page with him in a lot of areas, right? Or at least the pages that he determines to be the ones that should be showed.
Exactly. I think everybody needs to know where everybody stands, right? And if that's a gray area, that's fine. But don't be righteous and then show some other side. It's right. If you're saying I'm going to be this way and then you're doing something different on the side, you're going to get called out. If you're saying I'm wishy-washy and I'll do it for the money or I'll do it for whatever's best for me, at least you're being honest. If you want to look at it in that twisted kind of way, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. It's an interesting thing to take a step back and do a self-reflection or perception of your own character in character, right? Like we did with End of the World, like sort of diagnosing yourself. And I think that Mia doesn't think she's the most naive in the party, but I think after Shaft and Falzerin have been together for so long, she is. I think she is. She just doesn't think that about herself.
I think the thing about Mia is she's very powerful, and everybody else is trying to sway her to be on their side.
But she's more naive than she thinks she is, I think, is the self-reflection. So just like Shakara maybe doesn't think that she's hoity-toity or self-righteous, she kind of is at times. Right? It's all about like this, if you self-reflect as a character, not a player at all.
Yeah.
Well, that self-reflection is where the character growth comes through the role-playing too, right? Or at least that's the type of character growth that we could achieve through the role-playing. And the predominantly the role-play between the party themselves, not NPCs. Like an NPC could say anything, could point out anything they want to any one of you, but like, what does that matter to some person? But I mean, maybe if Grimby said something like that to Shakara, what did you think, Emily? If Grimby has said like, boy, I think that you might be speaking a little out of line on this one, Shakara.
I think I would probably listen more to Grimby than I would anybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would probably hear it from him, whereas anybody else, I'd probably dismiss it.
I don't think you would listen to Shaft at all. You would not listen to Falzerin at all.
At this point, no, I don't think I would. Pre-Portal, I probably would have.
You might listen to Mia a bit.
And I think
Pre-Portal.
yeah, and I think that's
we got
that's
BP
why,
and AP, right? We got before Portal and after Portal. Here is now the measurement.
I think that's why the Portal thing hurt so much, is because Shakara felt like she and Falzerin were bonding, and we had this thing that was growing, and he took it and he threw it on the ground and stomped on it.
Oof.
It's interesting to dive into, like, for instance, Mia's reaction to Samuel. Like, Shaft and Falzerin want to be on Mia's side because she's powerful. Shakara's, like, kind of half-handedly planting seeds to recruit Mia for the coven, right? Okay, Isabella likes us all, whatever, but Samuel Coltis says he's amazed at what you can do and he admires you and she's eating that up. Like, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it means something.
Well, why do you think Shakara was trying to potentially recruit you to see how you put feelers out? It wasn't because she thought you're some kind of schlup. She knows
what
you're
would you have
powerful.
done
She
if I was
knows-
like, yes, evil cackle?
I said we can talk about this and start making plans.
Well, I mean that could.
Are you
take a lot
offended
of
by how I
forms.
reacted at all as
No,
as
it's
Shakara?
pretty much what I expected.
Okay.
But here's the thing. So
Here we go.
Shakara...
Crack and rum. This is a crack and rum comment. I'm feeling the wind up to it.
No, this is
A swing and a miss for the fences.
this is a mature comment for once. I have something thoughtful to contribute.
Oh, I'm so sorry for shitting on it.
It's a moment that's coming.
Now you've built it up too much. It's not going to be that good. Okay, so Shakara, or I should say Emily, is sort of, well, Emily and Shakara are trying to sell the point that Shakara is a reluctant member of this coven and thinks that Izzy is kind of a bad person and yada, yada, yada. But now Shakara's trying to recruit another person to the
Well,
coven.
Falzerin doesn't know that.
To replace Isabella.
Okay, but what about
You didn't
Isabella's
say that
sister?
to me, though, by the way.
I didn't, but I thought it was implied. But
Oh. I'm dumb, remember?
that would be next. Like we had to find maybe Mia and
Maybe
Shakara
Falsey?
together could get Falzerin, the three of us
Falzerin
with
wants back
Shaft
in.
by our side. Shaft by our side.
That was easy.
We could just go knock on her door and then fireball her house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we typically take out a coven member.
Oh,
Or try to,
boy.
anyway.
Coven,
That is
please.
traditionally how it's done.
That's right.
Traditionally, glass breaks.
Excuse me, could you leave the coven, please?
They're just misunderstood.
Uh,
Did we have more questions from Britt or anyone else?
well, wait, I had a thought, and now it's
Oh,
gone.
sorry. Okay. Goldfish.
It happens a lot.
Goldfish emoji.
I wanted to. Oh yes, okay. I wanted to ask you all a question here, because I think it was after our play session for 124, because 124 was a shorter play session for us. Elena, we were talking about afterwards, and Elena, you had mentioned wanting Mia to have a reason to remove her necklace, right, and kind of
right.
building to something, and then I took the opportunity to use it and let Samuel use it. Is that meta gaming?
No, that's being a good DM.
no,
Is that
'cause
my
we-
job?
It's your
That's your
job.
job.
We did that with Bryn before too. Like I wanted to have a connection to Ciari and potentially go into like Druid class and things like that. I don't
True.
think that's metagaming. You're the DM.
But is that not manipulative? Because of the source it was coming from?
Okay. The fact that it came from Samuel was a little bit. It caught me off guard a little bit, to be honest. Because I knew how it would come across, and then to play it again as like I'm giving this person so much worth, and like their word is very valuable to Mia. But I think that's okay.
You still had a choice.
I still had a choice. And the fact that I got the smirk out of him, like, really meant a lot to Mia. So it's just, like, this weird relationship all of a sudden. Like it is.
Is this gonna be a problem? Like,
I
if we have
think
to take
so.
cultists out in the future, is Mia gonna, like, turn against us?
Listen, we are not killing each other to end this campaign. I will not do it. I will not.
So you'll kill cultists with us, is what you're saying.
Sure. I don't know. I don't know. That's metagaming. That's metagaming right there. All right.
See how she's twisting the same thing we're talking about her? See how she's doing that? You guys don't see this?
But yeah, I did tell Leland I kind of want to like walk around Aspara in my true form and like be less ashamed of it. I don't know.
I think the big issue that I have with that, because once that happened and we got back into playing, I completely forgot about you walking around looking like that, right? Because I have in my head the other image of you.
I don't have my wings out at all the time. We figured it out. I don't have my wings all the time. Those sprout when I do the Radiant Soul.
So basically, it's just your eyes.
It's just my
that would be
eyes and my
noticeable?
stature. I'm just like bigger and like more obviously not human.
Yeah, but think about us walking into a tavern in Pisces.
Oh yeah, I'm a rare.
You're going to get some looks, right? They're going to go, what's wrong with her eyes?
Yeah.
You know, and those kind of things are hard to remember, you know, while you're playing the game. All these little, you know, intricacies that would pull people's attention and stuff. I think that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
We can try to, if we're going into a tavern, we can try to remember someone say, hey, Mia, put your amulet on, or I can try to remember to put it on if that's what we're going for.
Well, no, I'm just saying you as a character would have to say, am I going to be proud of who I am and not put the amulet on despite what might happen? Or are you going to be, hey, I get it, we don't want to draw any attention. You have to make that call.
I think it coming from Samuel was one of those things where I was like, okay, so if someone wants to stir up trouble with me, they're messing with Samuel, is what it felt like. And I liked the powerful feeling behind that. Talking about power, Shakara.
So if he offered you a badge, you'd put it on, right?
Oh, a big shiny star on the chest? Sure.
What
Sheriff?
about on the forehead?
No.
Well, I mean, I felt that it was appropriate coming from Samuel, and it was, I mean, you set the tee up for me is what you did, but like it makes sense from Samuel. And I think it makes sense even just from the brief interaction you have with him. Like, if he believes that Mia's true potential is without this amulet on, whether or not that is something, that whether or not that roleplay plays into something that would come out in mechanics, or if it's more like, okay, just like be you and, wield the power that
Right.
is inside of you with confidence, whatever one that happens or may pertain to be, just because it's a game system. It makes sense to Samuel because, again, Samuel wants what you have and needs you to help him.
And this is coming on the heels of Grimby's departure to me, talking about rising.
That was right before.
Before.
You took it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, like reinforcing like who I am is a good thing to be proud of and not hide.
Yeah, like Grimby's parting words with you.
Yeah. That was kind of cute. I really liked what Grimby said to me. That was fun. Oh, Grimby.
He's not gone.
He could be, though. You never know.
Yeah, he's not dead.
Choices
not
we make
disintegrated.
will influence the world. Okay, disintegrate. That's too soon.
Too soon.
That's hurting. I went
That's a
to
bit of
bed
an inside
and I
reference
just
there.
continually said, like, I can't believe I died. I can't believe I like. Anyway, Patreon only
Well, you
campaign.
didn't see it coming.
I
It was a
did.
Patreon only.
It
was
didn't hurt.
For the patron.
For the patron campaign, there's no death saves when you disintegrate. Let's just say that.
So I've been thinking about this since maybe we shouldn't spend too much time talking about
Well,
session
it
that
never
we
got
did with the
recorded,
patron.
right?
Right.
So we can say whatever we want.
I wonder. So Leland has officially killed a PC, like an Aspara PC now.
He killed me in a campaign
Killed-
one shot with a
we
patron.
played a session with one of our patrons. Anyway,
Alternate universe.
Alternate universe, right?
Sure,
right.
In
obviously the
Aspara.
darkest timeline because
Yeah.
Mia's gone.
so Mia got disintegrated by what was the spell? Is it called disintegrate?
Yes, yeah.
What if? I think I had a dream about this.
Yeah, you told me about it.
I dream in Aspara. What if Leland is preparing us for the upcoming possibility that one of us is going to die? And this
Oh,
was
I
just
thought you were
testing
gonna.
the
I thought you were
waters.
gonna say that the Neogi are mind flares.
No.
Oh my goodness.
I think the preparation for us possibly dying came with theft.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You're
Nobody's
not
safe
prepared
in
at this point,
Aspara.
Bill. You're not paying attention.
Stuff, Gozer, Bryn. Come on.
I mean, I guess, yeah, we have lost a couple of PCs already. I just forget because Falzerin is this cockroach that never dies, but yeah.
Shaft too, apparently.
Maybe he's prepping me for Falzerin
I mean,
to die.
on paper now with your magical item, Mia has the lowest hit points.
That's wild that our wizard has so many hit points. That's just unheard of. Well, maybe it's not unheard of, but it's pretty sweet. Falzerin is just
And
he
you're
ain't
a
gonna be
lower
squished
level than
anytime
me
soon.
too. You're a level below.
I was talking to Emily about this. We are at a level now where I think in a lot of places, when you get to be 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th level, it makes it very difficult for a DM to be able to balance interactions in battle.
Yeah.
Because if he wants to make it very exciting, he's going to have to put something out there that could potentially kill us. But if we are all firing on all cylinders, we can take out a lot of big stuff. So it's a very tough balance that he's got to play to make it. If we just go in and kill a Kraken in 2 rounds, it's not quite as exciting. I think the best battles are the ones where somebody falls and you don't know if you're going to make it out.
Right. Yeah, you want that tension. And actually, I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with other systems aside from D&D 5th edition, but if I were to critique D&D, I think that's a very valid critique, that once you start getting at high-level play, it's very challenging to craft an encounter that is, like, it can really swing.
Yeah, I was gonna swingy is the first word that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple good hits from one of those creatures will take any of us out.
Right.
That's the thing. It instills the fear in you, but then I'm sitting here without anything to do. 'Cause I'm dead.
Whereas, like, on the converse side,
Just saying. Just saying, I was kind of dead for like 2-3 hours of that.
if the players, like John said, if the players are getting good die rolls and they're playing intelligently and tactically, they can just obliterate whatever gets put in front of them. So it's like, Yeah, it's tough.
Well, you think about the damage that the four of us can wield if we're all working together in one round.
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds of points of damage, and dragons are up into what, 300, 400, 500 hit points.
Right.
I mean, we can, if Amiya's go all firing on all cylinders and we're rolling well. I mean, Shaft, even with his arrows, can deal out 70 points, 75 points of damage a round.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If he's hitting well. So it's tough to beat us if we're all on the same page.
If we're working together,
That's what I'm saying.
Unit.
If we're working together, and that's what I think is going to be our downfall if something happens. I think in battle we've always sort of come together. I don't think there's ever been a situation where it's won out.
No, but I think that the party doesn't handle multiple enemies all that well.
Give me an example, like when we were up in the tower.
So to me, there are two best fights that are really memorable. I mean, yeah, the Kraken was certainly memorable because it had a lot of story elements going with it. But to me, the fight with Erica and, of course, with Brendel, right? Basically, our two PC death fights. Those two stick out not just because of the deaths, but I suppose it's kind of intrinsically tied to the deaths, but specifically in the Brendel fight, it was 4-on-4, and you all almost like you all just like squared off against one of them, right? As opposed to like focusing and taking down one of the four threats. Where, I mean, yes, that is. I guess that depends how you want to get into the combat and how ingrained you are in the action economy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily have the most fun when I play combat that way personally, but a lot of players do, and a lot of campaigns are like that. If they're combat heavy campaigns. So I think if, like, I don't know, if you, like, just imagine if you had all focus immediately on Brendel and just took him out right away.
The Brendel battle, in my opinion, the tentacles was the thing that made it most difficult for us to work as a team, because they were tied up, and then we had the whole situation of moving back and forth in between and not being able to move, not making good rolls to be able to break free. There was a number of rounds where we really didn't have any good attacks. But you're right. We weren't cohesive in that battle.
I wonder if it's like a Mia thing or an Elena thing, because it's like, I only care about the Hydra or the Kraken or the Dragon or Geneva. I don't really focus on what I perceive to be the most powerful thing in the room first and only.
Right.
So, yeah, maybe, I mean...
I don't think that's necessarily wrong.
Well, yeah, at what point is it metagaming to be like, all right, this time we're going to attack them all and, one at a time?
It's not metagaming, it's tactics.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so here's an example. Like, inevitably, I think in that Hydra fight, like, Shakara was in between, like, two water elementals.
Yes.
Right.
So she's literally surrounded by walls of water with I guess that was with the Hydra. Was it?
There were water elementals with the Kraken too.
With the Kraken,
yeah.
there was, I think.
Yeah, there was both.
Both.
But I think this was specifically the Hydra fight.
It was the Hydra and the two water elementals.
Yeah, I had the Hydra on one side and water elementals behind me, and I was surrounded.
Right. So, yeah, the Hydra took the focus and then allowed the water elementals to literally go unabated. Like they could do whatever they want. It just so happened that they were trying to whelm a very strong character that didn't go well for them. But if they had been choosing to slam, maybe, and actually getting off attacks rather than trying to incapacitate Shakara.
I don't know.
It's tough.
There's a lot. I always try to think tactics. Like, we don't use like half cover and 3/4 cover and all that kind of stuff because we're really theater of the mind. So we don't think about that.
Yeah, that also has something to do with the way the battlefields are made too. Usually.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something I could try to include bits and pieces that do allow you to take advantage of
like
that.
ducking
That's something I
behind
can
something.
work on for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not very good about talking to each other during battle either.
But we, the cultists overwhelming the Heracleonians trying to keep the artifact, or it's not the artifact, whatever. I'm talking about the Geneva battle, right? Where there were cultists unhit and unchecked that led to losing that point.
True. Well, even even if they're untouched, like even if they were all a little bit beat up.
Right.
But if
they
one of
weren't
them
though.
had been
One of them
completely
was
dead
like
and-
full strength for the whole time.
True. Yeah.
I think tactics in a way like we took out the Kraken, right? You ran up, you jumped in, you did your thing with the disc, and then you teleported back
Yeah,
out.
the shackles.
That's a tactical move that gave us the advantage in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we do okay with that. But I think when we start getting bigger things, we're going to have to discuss it. Or somebody's going to die.
Just hold up her fingers when something starts to attack. Just hold on a second. We need to figure out how to best attack you.
Well, you would
Give
yell
us just
on
1
your
minute,
turn.
please.
Sure, you could do that, but it's also like, I don't think it's metagaming if you as players are discussing tactics while you're fighting. You say, well, why don't we gang up on this guy? Because I feel like that
But
is
because
something,
in
again, one
those
of
6
things
seconds of time, though, how
get
would we do that
dismissed.
in character?
Well, because
You
it's,
can yell something.
because no, because my point is because that's something that gets dismissed as these are discussions as a group that you are literally together 24/7 that you would be having already, like, or you would have
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Like, these are things you talk about already.
If you're a band of 4 people who hangs out for a period of a month or 2 and you keep coming up against bad guys who you have to fight, you're probably on their downtime going to talk about like, hey, next time we come up against bad guys, which seems to keep happening to us,
Yeah.
this is how maybe we should fight, right?
Like,
That's not unreasonable.
I know every time Star Wars is brought up, Bill's going to make a Star Trek reference.
Right.
So I'm going to avoid making Star Wars references so I don't have to hear one.
Use
Or
the
Harry
force.
Potter.
Use
or,
the force,
yeah.
Harry.
Yeah.
Live long and prosper.
Any of them.
I don't know. That's the way I look at it. Maybe, I mean, that's up to you as
No,
players
no,
to
that's
determine
true,
whether or not
that's
that's something you
true.
want to do. But
I think that's a fair
appreciate
point,
that.
Leland. And I also think that I think I'll speak for myself. I can't speak for everyone else, obviously, but I'm sometimes reluctant to do what I think is metagaming in quotations, which is think too tactically about a battle. But in all fairness, if I were, if we lived in a fantasy world and I were a wizard, or I was a dragonborn, or I was a dragonborn paladin, or whatever, you would think tactically when you're in a battle. Like, you would look around and say, okay, there's a bad guy over here who's like a medium-sized bad guy and is moderately powerful. There's a huge bad guy over here who's very powerful. Like, and then I have 3 allies, and their powers, their strengths and weaknesses are this, this, and this. Like, you would think about that.
There are mechanics for that, right? Like, I would say to the DM, what do I know about this creature? And, the DM can go, you've never experienced anything like this before. Or he could say, hey, roll me a history check. Maybe you've read something about this.
Yeah.
And then you can go, they're resistant to fire. And then you don't have to spend 2 rounds hitting them and doing no damage, right? We have the agency to be able to ask those questions. We just don't necessarily do it enough.
yeah, I mean, those specific mechanics, there's less of them in 5e versus like in 4e, they actually had a really robust, like, okay, if you get in this range of it, it's basically setting DCs, and in a monster stat block, you had like the information that you could give them based on what the DC they rolled basically. There's obviously less of that in 5e, but not to discourage that, obviously, because yes, you absolutely can do. I do think, though, in our campaign, a lot of what we've been fighting is, it's not like you're going out into the wilderness and like we keep saying, we don't do random encounters. So I think there are less opportunities for you to be able to do that, but for sure, it is something that can be utilized.
If we ran into a Kraken again, I know Mia would not use lightning.
Right.
Right, because her character has learned something that you would remember.
Right.
Which I didn't, because I learned it the first encounter with it.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, no, I think for myself anyway, I think that I sometimes feel bad, like I'm cheating or that I'm metagaming when I'm in combat, and I think like, okay, what's the smartest thing to do here? But I don't think that's really fair, because if you're in a life or death situation, I mean, you do only have split seconds to think, but that thought process would happen. You'd survey the battlefield in front of you, look at your opponents, and based on who your allies are, you'd make wise decisions.
It's not an us against the DM kind of thing, but the DM does have all knowledge. He knows all our weaknesses. He knows all the things we have, all the magic items we have that can protect us.
Yeah.
Right? And so that monster has all that knowledge. Now, I don't think that happens, but I'm just saying it's the same thing with us having discussions. It's the same thing with the monster figuring out things for
Well,
us too.
next time we'll have a little huddle. Break.
Okay, you can take the first round at model. Okay, but there are a few more conversations on the boat, like Falzerin by himself. I think the first instance of you, Falsey, you're solo. I think everyone probably could have listened to it, and you may or may not agree.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine.
I didn't listen.
I didn't listen.
Same.
Anything about it that you want to talk about?
Listening back, I was like, it was pulling at my heartstrings.
Who are
Well,
you talking to?
Yeah, what is this?
I specifically mean, like, once you all got back together, Shakara and Mia were like asking, "Well, did you talk to Drag about the Nyogi?" And Chaff was like, "Nah, it didn't come up yet." But Falzerin did speak to Drag about the Nyogi.
Okay.
Well, yeah, so
I did.
Okay.
I talked
good.
to Drag and basically just, discussed that, Samuel, yes, might not be the greatest fella, and he might end up actually turning out to be a foe, but it's the lesser of two evils, really. And I think we had already mentioned the Nyogi to Drag previously, hadn't we?
When you first got him out of the torture hut,
Yeah.
there were mentions of the Nyogi there.
So
as
he
well.
already. So yeah, it was
Oh my gosh,
already.
Torture Hut sounds
Torture
like a
Hut
pizza
next to the
place.
Pizza Hut?
Yes.
I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just as greasy in there.
Oh boy.
Oh gosh. That is not
For different
pizza
reasons.
sauce.
The pepperoni ain't the pepperoni you're thinking it is.
Ew.
So yeah, he already knew about the Nyogi before Falzerin had a one-on-one with him in the room with Dragon Mullen. But basically, yeah, Falzerin just tried to reiterate that, like, look, I get it, Drag. You don't want to give up this weapon. You think that it's going to be a terrible thing to do, but there's a bigger threat, and this might be a necessary evil sort of thing. That's more or less like the synopsis of that conversation. But boy, it was tough seeing Drag like that. Guy's just been beaten to within an inch of his life, and he was obviously, frustrated with Falzerin. He kind of didn't, brushed Falzerin off, didn't really want to keep talking to Falzerin at one point there, and yeah, poor Drag.
Yeah, he definitely could have used your help.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, Falzerin felt extremely guilty throughout all of this once he discovered Drag, and also Drag mentioned, so I guess you guys didn't hear this either if you didn't listen, which I don't think matters at this point unless I'm missing something. But Drag had mentioned that he was in the room, invisible, when we had first come back and met up with Izzy and Samuel Coltis.
Mm.
And so that bomb being dropped in the fact...
Just Izzy, right?
Oh, it was just Izzy.
When
Okay.
you went back the morning after, the day before the shopping, basically, right? So like yesterday in game time, when you went to Izzy and we're like, "Hey, do you have them?" And she's like, "Well, why don't you stay for the night?" Well, they're almost ready.
Gotcha.
That's
Well,
the time frame
either
he was
way,
referring to.
like, we were in the same room with Dreg. We didn't know he was there because he was invisible. But, had we have, like, met up with him, we maybe could have spared him from what was coming to him within the next 24 hours.
But he wouldn't have listened to us.
No, perhaps not. But I think it just...
Because we tried talking to him before.
Had you taken up Izzy on her offer to stay, he would have approached you all.
Yeah.
Damn it!
Yeah. So that hurt too, because it was like, oh man, there was maybe the potential that Dreg might have been spared from this.
Yeah, possibly. But I think, Emily, you were like, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have been able to convince Drag? What would you have done to try to stop him?
I think Dreg was a train barreling down the tracks that no one was going to stop. But
No, he had one thing in mind, and that was it. I don't...
Is this a
Short
trolley
of
or a
actually
train?
seeing the Yogi himself and seeing how bad they were, I don't think anything else would have stopped him from
Yeah.
his path.
it would have taken some very, very serious arguments with, a very good, a very convincing argument. He is of one mind, I think, at that point. And I think that's changed a little bit, thankfully.
Well, a secondary conversation between Dreg and Shaft, and with Falsey in the room, got the information out of him.
Right, yeah. So
All it takes is a torture hut talking to Falzerin, and then no cave.
Oh, okay. So
Now, the torture hut didn't do it, but
here's
Falzerin...
I was thinking about that. It's funny you say that. I was thinking about that. I'm like, man, did he give it up too quickly? And I was second guessing whether or not I played that poorly with Dreg. But I do think after listening to everything that it made sense that you got the outcome that you got. What do you do you agree, John? Because I know John is one of the few that has all the information of like the instances. I guess Bill does too, right? Because you're both your characters were always there. Actually, that's not true. Falzerin was really the only character that was there in all three of these instances: the Hut, Falsey, and Shaft and Falsey. So, Bill, do you think seeing all of the progression and privy to all of the conversations with Dreg, did it seem premature in the role play, or did it kind of make sense?
I think that, it's worth pointing out that Dreg has literally had his hand amputated as well as multiple fingers. The dude has been like pushed near the brink of death within the past 24 hours. So that's going to change someone. I don't think so. I think that, well, I guess the thing that maybe is missing a little bit is perhaps more time could have been spent in role play from Falzerin's part discussing the Neogi and the true threat that they pose. Like we mentioned the Neogi, but I guess maybe if I had to do it over again, I might have spent more time talking about, this is what they are. This is the situation. Like there's perhaps like more or less unlimited amounts of these creatures that are coming and that are very powerful from a mind control standpoint. So I guess maybe a bit more of that could have been discussed, but I think the point was made nonetheless that like, yes, I get your point, Dreg. It's not good to let Samuel have these weapons, but we may be more or less helpless against these Neogi if we don't have these weapons to be able to destroy them. So, like, what do you want? Do you want all of Aspara to be enslaved to these aliens with mind control? Like, it kind of makes the decision a bit more cut and dry at that point.
Yeah. I think you did a good job of relaying the severity of the situation as succinctly as possible. I don't think a man in Dreg's position would really be willing to sit there for a long expose on the travesty that is the Neogi plague of Aspara. I guess I want to hear John's opinion though, because you miss a little bit at this instance between Dreg and Shaft, or Dreg and Falsey. But what do you think, John?
I think the fact that Shakara was talking to him in the tent, letting him know that he needed to do it, then Falzerin sort of laying it out for him, and then Shaft coming in and saying, hey, I laid my life on the line here to get you out, and I don't like it any more than you, but this is probably the way we need to do it. I think being with us as a group for so long, I think he knows us overall has the best intentions for making good decisions, at least from his perspective, maybe, and knows that we wouldn't be asking him to do it if we didn't feel it was the right thing. And I think that after the torture and after everything else, he probably just said, in his head, I have to do this at this point. It's probably the right thing to do, I guess, in a bad situation. So I don't think he gave it up easily.
He did ask you for something in return.
Well, yeah. And I don't think Shaft has a problem with that.
I didn't think so. Not to be too cryptic for Emily and Elena, but well,
so, yeah, it's good.
Beauty. And the party is left to ponder what exactly to do with Hulsa, Egna, and Kula. And basically, that's the episode's end, right?
Yeah.
Kill him, duh.
We can't kill him. This is what I keep telling each one of you. Each one of you wants to fucking kill him, and we can't kill him.
I will say, I thought we had
can.
a really good plan, but unfortunately, Dreg was not up for the challenge.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he's a little useless.
He's not as handy as he used to be.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Okay.
You did it.
Wow.
You really did it.
What was the plan?
Teleport.
Well,
I mean, we can
Dreg
teleport him, right?
Teleport, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
That's why Shaft and Falzerin went down so quickly to talk to them.
This was another example of pulling at the heartstrings.
After Shaft and Shakara talked about Mia going and talking to Dreg, Shaft went and ran down there.
Yeah,
and
you
talked
seemed
to
a
him.
little ticked.
Actually, if we listen back, I said, let's go talk to him. And then you went and talked to Mia, and I went and talked to Falzerin. We didn't say anything about us. I said, let's go down and talk to him.
Falzerin ended up being kind of the person who did all the talking, but yeah, this was another instance where, oh boy, it was painful to listen to this. But Dreg mentioned the fact that he's not even sure if he can cast the spells he knows anymore because there's a somatic component to them, and he's missing one of his hands and a good portion of his fingers on the other hand. I was just like, oh my.
he will have to relearn how to cast his magic, but I'm willing to bet that he'll be able to get there with a bit of study and practice and just figure out this new way how to cast his spells. I have no doubt that he will be able to recover, thanks to you all getting him out.
Well, it was, as painful as it was to play through it the first time around and listen to it a second time, I think it really adds some gravity to the situation, right? Like there's real consequences for what's happening here in Aspara, and we're seeing them firsthand.
Yeah. Well, it kind of had that twofold effect. Is yes, one, it's like, again, actions have consequences. I think that is something that's been pretty pertinent through the whole campaign. And two, is that this is a side to Samuel. So that you have exactly, like, again, under his order, this has happened in addition to what he's presenting himself to you as, or speak the way he's speaking to you, and his arrogance, confidence, whatever you want to call it, that he puts out to everybody around him.
I thought it was very interesting when he was talking to Falzerin about what he was going to give him, and he said something about failure's a way to learn, and then he also said, you'll understand what I mean by failure. So it was almost a threat.
It was,
Like,
yeah.
It was.
Falzerin got the shaft as usual on as far as deals go.
I considered that a threat.
Yeah. To your point, Leland, like, absolutely, this is a piece of evidence to give us a bit of an idea what Samuel's character is, where his morals lie, where he draws the line. He certainly doesn't draw the line at torture, at dismembering someone to get some information. Whether he did it himself or it was an extension of him who did it, that's the type of person that he is. He's willing to go to those lengths.
We're aligning ourselves with someone who would gladly torture us if he needed to
Right.
get the information.
Perfect. I love it.
To Samuel, it's less of an alignment and more of a employer-employee situation.
That is true.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
not as bad. You just work for someone that would
Yeah, we're outsourced, really. And
exactly.
thanks, Leon. I feel a lot better about it now.
Oh, good. Good.
We have
boy.
one more question from Brett. Is anyone keeping
No, we can just skip this.
track of
We
Lelandish?
What?
Is anyone keeping track of Lelandish?
What does that mean?
The words that Leland says that
Oh.
are pronounced correctly.
Oh,
Honestly,
How
we
many-
had a
Leland,
spreadsheet,
you can cut
but
this out.
it broke Excel.
wow. How many times have I been playing Stardew Valley and I call it the Skull Cavern now? It's
Yep.
stuck in my head.
It's catching
I love
on. It's catching on.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
There's like two words. It's Cavern and Southern. Those are the only two things
Escape,
I've ever
escape.
said strangely,
You said
not
escape
incorrectly.
the other
no,
day.
escape is correct.
Adamant.
Escape is
Adamant, you
not
said
fine.
wrong.
Adamant. But I still say, is that me or is that Izzy? You don't know because it was in roleplay.
Fair enough, yeah.
I mean, I can't debate that logic. So the answer to that question is that no, we're not keeping track of
Oh
them.
my gosh.
We just let them
We just have
slide.
Please cut
Memorized.
out that long, awkward silence.
No, that's just staying.
It was funny that when we were playing with our patron and Leland said Southern and he just
Oh,
shook
yeah,
his
Oh
right.
head.
yeah,
Dying.
Mike just shakes his head, his hand in his palm.
Face in his palm.
And
you mean.
the map was north and
Hand,
south.
no, hand in his palm.
palm.
That's something Dreg can no longer do.
Oh,
Oh.
you guys. Oh my gosh.
That is mean. That's mean. Dreg will easily.
So mean.
He'll recover. Dreg will come back.
I mean, I gotta
Dreg will
hand it
recover.
to you. You've got plenty of jokes.
Oh jeez.
I said it a moment ago and I resisted the urge to point out that it was a pun. I would like your praise and adoration now, please.
I would like you to pat me on the back
With your hand.
with your hand.
I don't know where the campaign goes from here.
Can only go up.
Oh,
really.
end.
gosh.
Let's go right to Drukal and just bang this out in the next 6 episodes. Chapter 3's
Yeah.
over. What a big
We
fun.
go to Jakral, we find the amulet, we use the cipher that we also have, we find the armor for ourselves, we use it against the Yogi first,
Wait.
and we use it against
Wait,
cultists,
what is happening?
and then we use it against Elzabella.
Emily,
Wait a minute. Cipher we already have. Who
I mean, as far as I
has the
know,
cipher?
I assume you and Shaft stole it from the keep.
No, we stole a Palaboy. Unless you think that's the cipher.
oh, what?
That's the cipher!
I did get that back from Grimby, by the way. I didn't
You have
get
a
that.
paladin in your
It was a
pouch?
loan.
What?
Palaboy. It's
Palaboy.
it's a graphic novel is how I
I
describe
think we
it.
explained
Oh,
it.
like Playboy. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a graphic novel.
I mean, I want that to be something I can pull out in a point of embarrassment for Samuel. The wrong time, right?
Yes. That's
Well, what about this,
this is
Samuel?
kryptonite.
Do you think, now that you've met him, do you think he would be embarrassed by that?
No, not at
In
all.
front of an audience, of course.
No.
Depends on whether he's wearing his codpiece or not, I guess. Yeah, no, he probably wouldn't. He'd be like, so
You just
what?
tuck it into your belt. It's easy. It
Yeah.
still works in armor. tuck it into the waistband.
No, I don't think it wouldn't even phase him. He's got that Samuel Coltis confidence.
He's got that BKE.
Yeah, big Coltis energy.
Oh my gosh. You guys.
Okay, we got anything to talk about as far
I don't
as
think so.
giveaways?
All our giveaways are
and-
wrapped up, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we had
Congratulations,
how
good
many?
runners.
What did it end up being? Was it 7 giveaways or something crazy like that?
Yeah.
We're
Man
2 hours
alive.
into this. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was quite the extravaganza. And we had some of our own like people that have been with us for a long time win, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, one of them was very much rigged. It was only available to patrons, so we knew that was going to be one of our own loyal listeners who won.
We knew one of our patrons was going to win it.
Yeah.
We knew a patron was going to win the patron only.
That's why
Freaking Bill.
my bookie didn't let me put a bet on it because it was just it was an easy bet.
Yeah.
I think I would have said had a better chance of winning rather than rigged. Rigged sounds
Yeah,
a
the
little
word
bit
rigged is
more-
like, come on.
Right. Yeah. No, that was cool. So yeah, Britt won that. Congratulations, Britt. She's getting the entire set for Paranoia, right?
Yep.
Every
on its
time
way.
Bill mentions it, he goes, right? About
Well,
Paranoia.
I threw a couple little extras in her box too,
Always
but I didn't
second
tell her
best.
what they were.
Yeah, so that's currently on a ship or a plane or a train or an
on the
automobile.
Rising 3.
Yeah.
Currently
Look at
on
that.
the Rising 3.
We couldn't afford to put it on the Rising 4. Air freight is really
air
expensive.
Yeah, I mean, hell, that's expensive.
Hopefully, it
to
doesn't
that,
get caught in the Suez Canal.
I was thinking the same
Well,
thing.
if they're
Stop
going that
it.
way, that's a hell of a way. They're not really
That's
taking
the wrong
fast-
direction.
fastest path.
Yeah.
They need to speak about their tactics.
Some of the winners have already posted on their social media that they've got their prizes, which is pretty cool to see.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll post anybody who, if you're listening and you get your prize, we'd love to see a picture of it, and we'll post it on our website and on social media. So that's fun.
If you're listening, of course they're all listening. Right?
There you go.
And if you become a patron, you can get in on the rigged one. So jump in and.
I think that was a pretty sweet surprise or prize. I mean, that was a good one.
Nice.
It was a good
Everything
idea,
you need to
for
play
sure.
Paranoia.
Great.
Okay, we ready to wrap it?
Best 3 episodes yet.
Absolutely. I've been John and Shaft.
I've been Emily and Shakara.
I'm Elena. I play Mia.
I've been Bill and Falzerin.
And I'm Leland Steele. Happy adventure.
3,
Jesus.
2,
bro.
1.
That was Leland. You didn't even try.
Yeah, that was fine. I was like a half a second behind all
You're
of you.
like at least 5
It was
seconds
just-
The
late.
5
mustache.
seconds.
The mustache throws off
if
the
your heart's
timing.
not in it, Leland, I just can't. I can't work like this.
The old crotch duster.
Flavor saver.
Flavor Saver's the one I always
The
forget.
thigh tickler.
Okay.